or second with the two teams. Yep, team one.
Okay, and I'm not sure if we need to check. Do you want to commentate with me? I just want to check.
Have fun.
Right.
The best part is the team doesn't play again, so he wears it forever.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Day 2 of Australian Under-22 Ultimate Championships here in Bendigo. Geelong, not Bendigo, sorry. Stressed. I think you might have just caught the very last point, the very last throw of that first point, which ACT scored. So ACT versus South Australia. This is like a quasi semi-final. I think only ACT has a chance of making it through, and they need to win this game to get through. Sorry. Joel's correcting me here.
I think when it goes through to the 3-4, there's only 5 teams in the mixed competition.
Yeah, sorry. I was actually talking about gold medal. So ACT has a mathematical chance of getting into the gold medal round, but they need lots of stars to align. They're possibly in a 3-way tie with Western Australia and Victoria, and they lost. There were universe point games so far in that 3-way, and then the third leg of that 3-way is being played right now. You know, we're with the action. South Australia receiving.
Okay, Jordan O'Reilly with the disc. Puts it up to Callum. It's a great catch, actually. Great throw, great catch. Looking for a dish off. Back to O'Reilly. O'Reilly up to Amy Johnson, but just sails to the side. ACT to have the disc.
So Farrell is walking back to the disc. They've got a vertical stack with a single dump. South Australia forcing towards the camera. Nice little undercut. Looked off. That was Weir. That must have been a high stall count, but they got out. Nice throw. You really want to score from this position. Gets back to Farrell outside the end zone. He's got a nice clean shot. And that was Sutherland with the score. So ACT goes up 2-0. Yeah, so that was a pretty high stall count there that Farrell got in early on that point, but managed to get the disc out. And once they got out of that little spot of bother, they quite easily moved it up the field.
So my understanding of these two teams and their selection processes is that the ACT put a lot of priority on their mixed team for this tournament, and a lot of their stronger players elected to play mixed. In South Australia, a lot of the stronger players elected to play opens and women's. Some of the players elected to play mixed, but generally I'd say the opens and women's teams were slightly stronger for South Australia. We'll see how that plays out in this game today.
Let's go, ACT, let's get another one. Woo!
You just caveating this game a little bit, Joel. So you're looking for a big upset, basically. Chef de Mission and South Australian contingent.
We're counting on the sideline, Owen. Counting throws. Let's go, ACT.
Did you talk much to the players last night? How they feel, like the South Australian players, their bodies feeling okay after it was 4 games in a day for a lot of the teams. It's a pretty hard run.
Yeah, everyone was in really good spirits actually, having a great time. The South Australians didn't get a win yesterday, so it was a little bit disappointing. But the women's team probably the sorest because they had low numbers, but the other teams have quite a few. So that's Dan Tay over to Malhotra. Dignam now, Nathan Dignam with the disc. There's that guy. Back to Dan Tay. Back to Dignam. It's good handling by the South Aussies here. The Western Australians in a zone. Dan Tay with the disc. Back to Dignam. Over to Stephen Guerin. Back to Dignam. Moving it quite well here. Over to Harley Smith. An excellent defense by ACT.
Yeah, it was pretty good pressure there from ACT. Although South Australia kept the disc moving, they weren't really progressing up the field as much as they might have wanted to. It's with Bray. He's looking for an undercut, gets one. It's a bit messy. That's Patterson Robert with the disc. She puts it into the end zone. Deep in the end zone. I think that might have gone out the back. It has. And South Australia walk it back. So there is a little bit of wind here. A bit less than yesterday. But still, I think it'll have a bit of effect on the game. Wind's kind of coming from the camera across the field diagonally. Oh, the inside out doesn't work. Cleaned up by Foreman. He gets it out to Waters. Back to Patterson Robert. Nice throw inside for the goal. Looks like she likes to throw goals, Patterson Robert. Well, ACT will be pretty happy with the start of this game. They're up 3-0 and they look pretty dominant. As Joel was saying. Although I did talk to Anson Chun, the coach of the ACT mixed team before the game, and he kind of denied that they would, that they'd stack their mixed team. But from other quarters, we've certainly heard that story. That not that they stacked the team, I guess, but that a lot of their stronger players had decided to play mixed, which and not that there's anything wrong with putting all your best players into one team.
So, for anyone that hasn't seen the results for the mixed competition so far, New South Wales mixed is undefeated, WA mixed with a couple of wins, and ACT and Victoria on 1 win each, and South Australia currently without a win. So, if the South Aussies are to get up here, they would be in a tie for the 3-4, getting 3-4 playoff. It depends what happens with the Victoria game. But yeah, so. As Potts was saying before, ACT with a good win here may get into a 3-way tie that gets them into the gold medal match. So there's a lot to play for both teams here. ACT to pull. Heads off to the right and out of the field. Jordan O'Reilly to bring the disc into play. Dumps it to Emma Stevenson. Can't find him, back a little bit inside him. And ACT get the turn.
That gets to Suzuki. Moves it to Farrell. They're striking distance to the end zone, right on the line now. With Weir, throws it over the top, nicely grabbed. They're certainly looking comfortable, aren't they, ACT? So we just got a bit of rain coming through, so probably won't change the flow of this game too much. based on what we've seen so far. But so in the mixed division, it's a 5-team draw. So New South Wales actually finished top of the pool. Well, they were seeded first. They've finished top of the pool. They got a bye this morning, so that was the benefit of their number 1 seeding. But we're going straight into gold medal, and there's no semi-finals in this tournament. So after this last round robin, going straight into bronze medal and gold medal matches. So I don't think that will particularly favour New South Wales too much having a bye this morning. Victoria or WA or ACT, whichever one of them ends up in the final, will get a decent break before the final. Sometimes it's a disadvantage having a bye near the end of your rounds, and your head's not quite in it, and you suddenly come out in a game that matters, and you're not quite firing on all cylinders, and the team that just played a hard game is in the groove. So what do you think South Australia needs to do here, Joel?
Well, I was just thinking about that just then. Similar to the games that South Aussies played last night against WA, I don't think they want to get too caught up with at the back of the field, make a lot of short passes. I think they want to keep trying to go forward. Obviously, the skills here is there's a bit of a difference here between the skills of the two teams. And I think if they're not gaining ground and going forwards, I think they're just going to end up turning it close to their end zone a bit too often. It's going to be a bit too easy for ACT. So I want to see good positive ultimate. I want to see them going downfield. And look, so far I've seen them actually be very positive in that way. They've progressed through that zone pretty well. A couple of their man points, they've found targets, and they've been going forward. And if they try to be too conservative with the disc, I don't think that's going to work very well for them. So play good positive ultimate. They've got some good runners. They've got some decent throwers. Let's get down the field and make this a competitive game.
Yeah, and try a few different things on defense, I reckon. As we saw in the games we looked at yesterday, play a bit of zone, maybe try a couple of different zones, try some transitions, play a bit of straight up. Yeah, just make the offense do some things that get them a little bit out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's hard sometimes when they're starting every point on offense. So in order to change the narrative a bit, they have to get this down the other end, and then absolutely right. Try some zones, try some of their man defenses, and try and change the narrative a bit here, because it is all one way at the moment.
Yeah, sometimes you'll just put your D line on, get them to huck it, and then go and play some defense. Just as you say, just to change the flow of the game. The keen, the spirits are up, South Australia. Who's coaching the South Australian mixed team?
So the South Australian mixed team, the team is being run by Crew, the South Australian mixed club, and Elsa and Talis are the two coaches. Elsa's also team manager for the team. And they're doing a great job. I think this team is having the most fun out of any of the South Australian teams. They're keeping it really fun. So we've got Jack Hall throwing it to Jordan O'Reilly. He's looking for a target. Bit of pressure here straight away, and it's bobbled by Malhotra and out on the sideline for ACT.
So Waters walking to the disc. He's got Patterson Robert in the dump position. We've already seen if she gets the disc, she wants to send it into the end zone. It's a long shot to the end zone from here. No, she doesn't. Waters gets it back. Nice cut up the line. Oh, beautiful. She chased that down. Alice Patterson-Robert just chased that one down, scored the goal. She didn't get to throw the goal that time, but she got involved. Got a name on the stats sheet. Maybe that's the condition upon which she gives the disc to another player, is that it's got to get back to her. Always like that style of play. Yeah, so Crew, like, they're a fun bunch from South Australia. I had the pleasure of playing Beach Nationals this year. But played a couple of games against them, and they were good fun on the field, and they were lots of fun off the field. They kind of, went almost the heart and soul of the party in a way. They definitely came to the tournament to have a good time and to kind of make sure everyone else had a good time, which is really nice. So no doubt they're instilling that kind of ethic in their young chargers here.
And I'd say probably these are the two most experienced coaches of the South Australian teams as well. Talis also coached the under-19 boys earlier, and Alce has done quite a lot of work in the coaching or captaining of team space as well with the Nationals team Zig Theory, the women's nationals team from South Australia. So these are experienced coaches. They won't be rattled by anything happening out here. They'll have a lot of answers to things, and they'll try things. So
So 5-0 to ACT. They haven't taken on your advice yet, Joel. You might have to shift to mission it up and go and have a little quiet chat to the coaches. But we'll see what they do this time. I'd say it's kind of slightly downwind this point for South Australia. Shortish pull around the brick mark. Sorry. They put it up.
Yeah, no, I like that move by South Australia. Dignam set out on a great cut there right off the pull. I like that move straight off the pull, going deep. The throw didn't quite work for him. But I think that's great positive ultimate. And now ACT have to work the whole field. I don't think they have too much trouble with that. But here we go.
Yeah, they got one part of the advice right, but they haven't set a zone or anything funky after they've got the position. So ACT's working this kind of comfortably. It's now with Chantel Jones, number 12. She's maybe 15 out, gets to Farrell, fakes a hammer, looks across field, does get it across field to Jez Barrett. He's looking for the reset now. Farrell gives him one in front of the disc. And a nice easy score on the flow. I think it's Caitlin Grange with the goal. So one-way traffic so far. 6-0 is probably the most one-sided game I've seen actually so far this tournament. ACT definitely got their act together. They haven't really given many chances to the opposition. In fact, I'm not entirely sure if they've turned it yet. So they have once, I think. But that's unusual so far for this tournament. I think even the top teams. I mean, the wind is a bit less today, but even the top teams yesterday were giving the disc away quite a bit. So I'd say this is a pretty clinical display by ACT. Certainly gearing themselves up for playing off for a medal in a few hours' time. You can hear a bit of excitement over in the other field. WA scoring. I'm not sure if that means they're ahead, but it's definitely a crucial game. We're also live streaming that game, so you can set up two windows and watch the two games side by side. Or picture in picture.
So the ACT mixed team, the Mutts, have had some pretty close games over this tournament so far. They went down by 1 point to WA mixed, 6-7. New South Wales put them on the pump a bit. They lost 11-4, and then they beat the Victorian Blue Devils 8-7. So there's almost nothing separating WA, ACT, and Victoria here. So it's going to be really interesting to see which one of those teams ends up making it into the final. If WA wins their game against Victoria, then this is academic. But and they'll go through. But if Victoria manages to beat WA, there'll be a three-way tie, and then we'll have to go down to point differentials.
Yeah, and you'd almost say that's going to be a great bronze medal game between whichever teams end up there.
Yeah, Absolutely. So we've got Caleb Duff with the disc going back to O'Reilly. O'Reilly puts it. The thrower's not really in sync with him. He looked like he was heading under as the disc was going out. Yeah, acknowledges that there was a bit of contact but wouldn't have affected. And that's Josh Peters for South Australia talking to the ACT player.
Yeah, I think one of them saw the disc was going long, the other was focused on the in cut, so they kind of blindly ran into each other. So Waters walking back to the disc, number 14. Looking to set up some sort of isolation on the strong side. Foreman makes a cut. He's running deep. It's going. I think that might be out of reach. It is. South Australia gets another sniff.
The ACT have been moving it really, really well. I think, just tried to do that a bit too easy then. If they go back to playing their structures like they were before, I think they're going to have no trouble scoring. Don't need to do it in one shot every time. Jordan O'Reilly put this back into play for South Australia. He's going back to Dan Tay, who's pretty well covered. Oh, it's a nice inside out, but it just a little bit too far. Just got the angle a bit wrong, and ACT have it again.
Easy one-pass goal. Abby Dawson catching the goal. I think Sylvia Wong throwing it. Yeah, they're pretty confident getting the disc into the end zone, ACT. They haven't really mucked around with it too much. Once they get close within scoring distance, they find their target and they hit their target. 7-0.
So timeout called here for the South Aussies. It's good to break up the flow. I think a 7-0 probably could have been called a few points earlier, but yeah, it is good to break up the flow and see if they can get on the board here. Needs to have a bit more coordination. If they're going to go for that huck and set play, they need a bit more coordination around how they do that. So there's receivers ready to go, as the throwers ready to throw. They haven't really had coordination between throwers and receivers too well so far, and also have a defensive set ready to go as soon as that turns as well, if it's not completed. So a bit of coordination around a strategy like that might be able to get them on the board. Let's see what the coaches come up with after this timeout.
Yeah, it's a tough situation being down 7-0. It's not, especially you've tried probably most of the things in your toolbox, and they haven't worked. So, yeah, you possibly don't focus so much on the tools and just think about how you can steady yourselves, steady your confidence and stuff like that. But yeah, it's always worth trying new stuff.
Doesn't look like the South Aussies' heads are too down here. I think they accepted this was going to be a tough match, I think they're quite happy to give a few things a try. I think ACT are extremely relaxed. They're not feeling any threat here at all. Seem to be having a good time as well. A few walls, a few skips and dances to the line. They'll already have their next game in the back of their mind, I reckon. Party Mix, I think, was the cheer there. I think that's the name of this South Australia mixed team.
Well, the sun's come out now. That's nice. There's a bit of drizzle maybe 10 minutes ago. The conditions are a bit better today than they were yesterday. There was a stiff wind yesterday, which made for some difficult offense. I think a light wind gives the defense something to work with without kind of without making offense frustrating or without turning the game into a game of position. ACT might try something, try some zone or something there. I would think about doing that. You know, you're pretty dominant on the scoreboard. You might as well just test out some of your other defences.
Yeah, absolutely. I expect Anson to be thinking ahead and to his next games and getting the team ready to play all their structures, all their defensive structures. So we have Jasmine Malhotra dumping to O'Reilly. O'Reilly's sort of the key for their offense here. Malhotra over to Snow. John Snow. He's under a bit of pressure. Puts it over to O'Reilly. It's a bit far. Can he get there? Makes a good effort, but it is too far.
ACT with about 15 metres to play. Farrell picking the disc up, looking to the end zone. Looks it off now. He's got to cut up the line. That's not there. That was a tight throw to Weir. Gets it back to Farrell. Centres it to Barron. Back to Farrell. It's definitely the crux of this offense. He gets the disc back again. Oh, that's not a pretty throw, but a nice D from South Australia in a bit of a pack.
I think that was Harley Smith that got over the top there. He's actually a really sensational up-and-coming player for South Australia. I expect to see big things from him in the future. O'Reilly goes straight away to Hall. It's a good throw, but I think he comes inside of the bit. I think he could have gone with that a bit more, but down the other end now for South Australia, and they'll get to play defence for the whole field.
Look, it was a great look. It was definitely on. Unfortunately, his receiver didn't really realise. It's something I find frustrating sometimes when I'm a thrower and my receiver's running deep, not expecting the throw. And he wasn't, he's kind of jogging deep and not really expecting it. And then when he finally saw it, he couldn't quite read where it was going. But it was a good look from the thrower, I thought. So ACT walks up to the line. They got the full length of the field to work. Bit of pointing from the thrower. Centres it again to Farrell. He still has 50% of the possessions. Nice block.
Yeah, this is a positive point for the Aladians. Got the disc down that end, and then got the turn around about halfway. So O'Reilly put it into play. What are they gonna go here? They're gonna try and work this in, or are they gonna try and put up a shot? Let's see. Up to Snow. Oh, bounces straight off his chest. I think he's already thinking about the throw, and ACT puts it straight away. It's far, and it's not going to get there. So South Aussies have it again.
Good work, Mambo. Good running. Come on, guys. Shut them down here.
Jordan O'Reilly calls Jasmine Malhotra off the disc. Wants to pick it up himself. This is mixed after all. O'Reilly puts up a big one. Smith is under it. He's got pretty good hands, pretty good read for the disc, Smith. So not surprised. He's looking for a dump. O'Reilly's got the disc now. This could be a South Australia really want this goal now. Puts it to Jack Hall. Jack Hall has a disc on pretty close to the end zone line here. What can they do here? Back to O'Reilly. Aussies are spread across the end zone. There's no real space to use here. And it's a funny old shot. Bounces off a hand. And, oh, no. So close. Didn't make it easy for themselves, Aussies. South Aussies are spread across that end zone. Wasn't a lot of space to work with. ACT have the disc.
Well, definitely promising. Disappointed, though, to not score that. They had a few possessions outside the end zone, but couldn't get a clean shot. Nice undercut with a lot of space from Maya Suzuki. Good mark there. Shuts her down, but they've opened up the field. Oh, again. Seen another eyes taken off the disc, kind of thinking it was in their hands before it was actually in their hands. And ACT got the disc, but they've got the full length of the field to work.
It's a bit of a. This is a good point actually. It's much more exciting than some of the previous points. It's a lot more more even. Throws and defenses quite tight on both sides. Jordan puts it up again. It's going to be short. ACT definitely saw that one coming. Switched on to that sort of play now by South Australia. ACT moving it quickly to the sideline. They've got very good up the line play. And it's just out of reach, but yeah, really good movement by ACT. They get that moving really quickly, catches defense unawares, and but not able to rule that one in this time. And we go again. More turnovers at this point than in the rest of the game, I reckon. So O'Reilly calling for the stack to be nice and short. I suspect he wants to put that again, but I think ACT are really switched onto this now. So, and Jack O'Reilly to Smith, strong cut. He wants to put it, but no one's going. O'Reilly to Smith again. Over to Jasmine Hulcher, quick hands, snatches that disc. Back to O'Reilly. Smith is very deep, but he puts it anyway. Looks like it's gone. Smith didn't really have the legs there. And
Good pressure, Dave. Good pressure. Holly. Don't hang out there.
Yeah. Yeah, they wanted to use the deep game, but their receivers were kind of hanging out a little bit too deep to make it effective. Really need to keep that deep space clear and cut strongly into it. So Farrell walks up with the disc again. Lots of space in front of the disc they're trying to use, but there were some good cuts there, but Farrell didn't use them. Ooh, that snuck through, but cleaned up. Then showing some chinks in their armour right now, ACT. It's not quite working as cleanly for them as it was earlier in the half, or for every other point in this half, in fact.
yeah, I think a 7-0, it's easy to lose a bit of focus. They'll sort it out. They'll get a bit more disciplined again, and I expect their offense to smooth out. Puts up a shot, but that once again, it's a shot without the receivers really expecting it, which is a bit odd because that seems to be part of the game at the moment. So a bit more coordination between throwers and receivers, I think, will give them a better chance. ACT to start an offense.
Yeah, one technique as a thrower is just throw the disc where you wanted the cutter to be and then tell them that that's where you should run next time. But Farrell with the disc. Big fake. With Suzuki. Gets it back to Farrell. Farrell looks deep. No, it looks short. To they've got the flow now. Oh, Farrell wanted it, but just out of reach.
So what is South Australia going to do? Same thing as usual. The stack's a little bit all over the place. Calls a timeout. I think that's not a bad call. Have possession. Have to work the whole field.
Would that be their third timeout for the half? Or anyway, no one seems to be complaining. Maybe there might have been a long between points that I thought was a timeout, perhaps. Yeah, there was definitely that one definitive between point timeout. Yeah, there were some good looks there from South Australia in that point, but yeah, they need to get their structures right, and they need to get the coordination between their deep receivers and their throwers right, because like we can see from the sideline that their throwers want to huck, but the receivers aren't quite switched into that, and they're not timing their cuts, and the disc's going up, and they're taking the receivers by surprise, which certainly not surprising from the side, looking from the sideline.
But getting the disc downfield is allowing us to have a look at the South Australians' defence, and it's actually been quite good. It's actually putting a bit of pressure on ACT when ACT have to work quite a long way up the field. I'm not sure if this might be a power line for the South Aussies, because this is the first point after that long timeout, and so I think they've called a power line. So they've got their strongest defenders on the field, strongest players on the field, and that is actually causing a little bit of trouble for ACT. Having said that, I think ACT are getting a bit ahead of themselves. At 7-0, it will be easy to just think that this game is going to be really easy, yeah, they're still moving it pretty easily, but a little bit rushed at times, I'd say. And if they just slowed it down just a touch. I think they would have put the disc in a few times already, but this is a much more exciting point, much more balanced point, and it's good to see that there's a bit of fight in this game still. I think there's been a bit of commentary around how long the South Australian teams, all three of them actually, are taking on the line, bringing in the calling on the line, bringing in the coaches for all these teams. The coaches are coming onto the field each time and calling a lot of things on the line, and so it's often the case that the opposing team has their hand up well before the coaches are off the field. In fact, the South Australian teams also bring the whole team on for the line call as well. And so you see a massive players right through the line call, and it is taking a bit of time. Something to look up maybe.
Oh, to be fair, I don't think it's just South Australia that takes a long time on the line. I think, look, maybe there's an adjustment. Like, these teams haven't been playing. This is the only tournament they've played, and the coaches and the systems aren't really finely tuned or efficient. So yeah, I think a lot of teams are taking quite a while on the line just to sort things out. And as you say, coaches coming on, players coming on, that adds a bit of time as well. But so South Australia has it maybe 10 metres out of their end zone.
So often I've seen a timeout call like that, followed by a turnover in the first throw. Let's see what happens here. They've obviously got a play, I reckon. What's it going to be? And it is just a huck play. That's fine. It goes straight out of the field, though, so I don't think he actually gained much ground by that. I think it's only about 10 metres up from where the throw was released.
It was an interesting setup after that timeout. They flooded the strong side of the field, and they kind of ran, and there wasn't anything. So, yeah. I think they were trying to set everyone up on the strong side and then flood to the other side of the field, but it didn't quite work. And yeah, anyway. So Farrell with the disc centers it to Evans, David Evans. Progresses it upfield to Suzuki. She's on the sideline. Back to Farrell. Swung out to Evans. Oh, he throws the hammer up deep in the end zone, and that's good vision to Weir. Wasn't the prettiest hammer in the world, but you just need to find that space out the back of the end zone, and it doesn't have to be that pretty. Good vision. Half time now. South Australia hasn't realised it's half time. Joel is chef de mission, just sorting out some logistics with the teams. Looking after player health, that's part of your part of the chef de mission's role. Make sure they don't walk further than they need to walk in the sun. So it's a fairly one-sided half there. Look, certainly the first 7 points just absolutely dominated by ACT. The last point before half was much more even. Maybe 6, 7, 8 turnovers each way, which doesn't make for pretty frisbee, but certainly gives South Australia something to work on in the next half. And they threatened the end zone a couple of times, 2 or 3 times in that half. So if they can keep threatening the end zone and actually maybe take some shots there into the end zone, they probably only had 1 or 2 shots into the end zone amongst all those possessions. They can convert. And if you're South Australia right now, you just want to get on the scoreboard primarily. That's the first thing you want to do, and then think about what you can do next. And it makes a difference once you can get onto a defensive point and change the psychology a little bit. And yeah. Did you catch the score from the other field while you're over there, Joel? They probably are watching both streams. Well, we won't reveal the score then. Yeah. It's close. And Western Australia just seems to have scored there. So. It's interesting, ACT's well, as a state or territory, it's apart from Northern Territory, it's quite a small population to draw from ACT, but Canberra teams have always been competitive in the Australian ultimate scene, or at least for the last 15, 20 years. They're definitely the standout in terms of punching above their weight. And they've got a big, vibrant scene in Canberra. You know, I guess South Australia would have a population of maybe 1.5 million. ACT probably 400,000. So, yeah, it's impressive how they compete against other states. One of the things I guess about Canberra is it attracts lots of people from the kind of the frisbee playing age group, I guess, and people going there to study or for work. But it also means they have a little bit of a transient population. So people come in, play for a few years, and then move back to their home state. Whereas South Australia probably has a lot more kind of steady population, steady playing population.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think probably the proximity to Sydney and the ultimate scene there means you get a few players that they go to similar tournaments. They play quality opposition fairly frequently. And I think that probably helps keep the quality up in Canberra. South Australia's a little bit more isolated than that. We might get across to a Victorian tournament once or twice a year. But yeah, certainly ACT has had a strong ultimate scene and some really good administrators there for a number of years that have worked to develop a really good scene there.
Interestingly, though, well, I mean, ignoring Canberra, but of the state capitals, Adelaide and Melbourne are the two closest state capitals. So in terms of playing against each other, there's definitely that possibility of road trips between the two. But just, yeah. Maybe just need to wait for more self-driving cars so you can sleep on the road trip. Just head off, set your car off on Friday night and wake up Saturday morning in Melbourne and play your tournament.
Look, it's actually not like when we road trip quite a lot we would road trip to a Victorian tournament. We wouldn't fly most of the time. And look, you jump in a car with a bunch of friends and you drive across. It's almost like you're on autopilot. I didn't think much about the drive. I was chatting away and listening to some stuff. So yeah, yeah, you know, Adelaide, Melbourne is 8 hours. Melbourne, Sydney is 9 hours. And it's not like it's a massive difference there. And obviously Canberra and Sydney is 2.5, 3 hours. Yeah.
You obviously drive fast. 9 hours from Sydney to Melbourne is pushing it a little bit, I think. It's like 880 kilometres or something like that. So you should take more breaks, Joel, when you're driving long distances. Maybe get off the autopilot a bit. South Australia, though, is like the leader in renewable energy in Australia. The kind of, I don't know, that's something, I don't know if you find it exciting being in South Australia, but, you know, doing more to save the planet than the rest of Australia combined in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually really proud of South Australian government for pushing that so strongly. I know there's a political commentary around what caused our power to go out, and certainly renewables were part of the story. There, but look, I'm really proud of the South Australian government for pushing ahead with that. Of any of the stuff that they've done, I think that's a really cool move. I I kind of like how cities around the world are racing each other to be 100% renewable, despite what the national government's policies settings are.
People kind of mock the federation as a very inefficient form of government, but I think one of the beauties of federal government is that you do have those two layers of government. So if the national government drops a ball, the state governments step in and pick it up and run with it, and that's what we've seen in renewable energy. That's our little sideline there around the future of the planet.
ACT, one of the other states, is doing a lot with renewables, I believe. So
it's actually a little bit ridiculous. They have a 100% renewable target by 2020, so they are going to leave South Australia in their wake. We kind of blinked there and missed that possession from South Australia, but ACT has it right outside the end zone. Sorry, and they've turned it over. So South Australia running to it.
Dante running to it, wants to put it in play. Daniel's probably one of the most experienced players, I'd say, on this team. He's probably been playing the longest, I think, out of most of the players here. So Josh Peters puts it up to Nathan Dignam. It's a good catch. A bit of speed there. Wants to find a target, but there's a lot of players cutting. People are all around him. Puts it up to Caleb. Duff. So Duff has the disc. Puts a long, high one up. Can Dignam read it? He's working on it. And he catches it. And there we go. Nathan Dignam with the score. And that's the first way to get on the board for South Australia. Coming out of the half. 8-1. This half, they're 1-0.
That was great. It's like a different half of Ultimate. And then, yeah, not the prettiest shot into the end zone, but sometimes you just got to throw it in there and see what happens. And yeah, Dignam did a great job of reading that, following it all the way down. It was a difficult read, and he just chased it down and made sure of it. Yeah. That initial huck, that was a great grab. And I think ACT is going for women. Playing the end zone choosers for the gender mix in this tournament. I'll be interested to see what sort of feedback the teams give on it, since a lot of them have played it at mixed nationals and they're kind of getting used to it. Yeah, interesting to see what the feedback is the second time round. I can't remember. You played mixed nationals?
Yeah, so I played with ISOC. Played under the new system. Yeah, I'm a little bit undecided still about it. I think maybe as we all get used to it and we learn the ins and outs of it and how to use it strategically, it could be a real positive thing. But it also adds another thing to think about as a captain coach. I'm not sure. I'm undecided still. On the fence about it. The other option for getting the gender equality is to do the 2 points, 2 points. It's a bit of a blunt stick, but it'd be great to get the feedback from teams about how they're using it and what they think about it.
Yeah, I mean, in Australia we haven't experimented with the 2 points each way approach, and it would be good to do that as well at some stage, just to compare the two systems. But yeah, I agree. Look, it probably adds a little bit of complexity to the between point time. So ACT has it. Working it slowly up the field. Suzuki has it. She gets it to Evans. Yeah, that's a straight up force from South Australia. Certainly, it's more aggressive and poachy. It's certainly a different look. They're not progressing it easily, ACT. Back to Evans. He's got power position, but not really any deep lead for him. Nice leading pass for Suzuki. She's maybe 10 metres out of the end zone. Evans cuts into the end zone. Oh, just a bit of a wobbly pass, and he can't get back to it. Evans had a good point there. Took maybe every second pass. Took control of that offense. Channeling Farrell. South Australia has it.
Hall with the disc, looking for O'Reilly. Finds Guerin instead, who pokes into that space and just pokes one out to the side, a little dishy to Hall. Looks up to Stevens with the disc. Over to Annalie Alexander, gets a hand to her, but it's a shaky pass and it's very hard to reel in.
Evans jogs to the disc, wants to get it moving soon, quickly. There's a bit of movement upfield, but not really a decent cut. Suzuki gives him one up the line. It's there to be caught. Really only the ACT players were looking at that, and Hannah Sutherland is first to it and collects the goal. Yeah, it looked like the three ACT players around the disc had their eyes on the disc, and the South Australian defenders didn't quite know where it was. Makes it difficult to play D if you don't know where the frisbee is. That was possibly the first point proper for the ACT offensive team. So they looked a little bit unsteady at the start there against that. I thought it was a good defense. Possibly a bit straight up, a little bit of poaching in the lanes. It was struggling. ACT was struggling a little bit to get it moving. But once they got a little bit of flow, they kind of found their mojo, which is often the case.
Yeah, I agree that straight up isn't utilised enough, and it does force the cutters to bend their cuts to the side a bit rather than just go in and out. And if the defensive team is disciplined and guarding the unders, it can put a bit of pressure on until the cutters figure out how to cut against it. So that seemed to work. Of course, you can't get beaten at the line in a straight up, or else you really expose your deep defenders.
Yeah, look, the other thing I like about straight up is it forces the marker to actually do some work, because so often in a one-way force, the marker just gets there and kind of stands on one side and like, I've done my job, or if I just stop the break pass, I've done my job, and there's so much more you can do when you're in that position. Rolling out the back of the end zone, that's a pretty nice pull.
Yeah, it's one of my pet hates as well, when the mark just stands there. Put some pressure on, get in their grill. You know, anyway. So rolls up the back. Harley Smith to bring it up. Harley, traditionally a receiver and quite a good young receiver, but playing as a handler here. Swings to Snow. So they're doing ACT are doing a bit of a zone setup here. Looks just like a 3-3-1. Snow back to Smith. Oh, Smith, great pickup there by Guerin. Maria Guerin. Back to Smith. Snow with the disc now. Puts up a long one. It's not a bad look to Duff, but it goes over both of them.
Good pressure from Bill Foreman there. He kind of forced the receiver to make the play early, and just went over their heads. So it's Patterson Robert picking up the disc. Moves it quite comfortably up to Sylvia Wong. Oh, I think that was a miscommunication. She's looking for Patterson Robert to continue up the line, but she didn't.
Almost got a hand to it. Almost the same as the last turnover. Snow to Duff with the throw. ACT went to their man rather than back to their zone.
Good to see some aggressive play. And both those shots were definitely on. Only just missed their mark. Not sure what's happening there, but Patterson Robert has a disc. She has a horizontal set in front. Easy strong side pass to Wong. Yeah, and aggressive marks from South Australia again, and that pays off.
Yeah, I like it. The straight up allows the defender to be a little bit tighter on those unders, and it gives you that opportunity to come for the run through D if the receiver slows down. John Snow with the D there, and also Snow bringing it in on the sideline. And again to Duff, 3 times in a row, and it will be, Rupini Gunatherian underneath it, but wasn't able to pull it in.
Patterson Robert walking up again. Saw an aggressive mark last point. Nice cut under. Back to Patterson Robert. She swings it, but again the receiver looks away.
Snow putting up another disc. He's had four throwaways this point.
Big shot from Bill Foreman into the end zone. Just sails over the receiver's head. But they did get length of the field. Quite a frenetic little passage of play there with shot, shot, shot.
Yeah, and the wind has actually just picked up on that throw. I think actually helped to push that a few metres further. It's now fairly strong right to left breeze here, so this is going to be really tough for the Aussies. It's actually coming in quite strong all of a sudden. Over our right shoulder, probably diagonally away from the camera to the left. This is going to make throwing very difficult. Smith not hugely confident, particularly his forehand. See how he gets out of this mess here. It would tuck around the corner, but it was never really going to be successful. A tough place to make a throw from with this wind.
Yeah, it was a junk defense there from ACT, and South Australia didn't really respond. They just still tried to make their cuts out of the vertical stack. Patterson Roberts throws the goal deep to, was that Holly Halford-Smith, I think? 64. It was a beautiful throw. The cutter peeling off the back of the stack to the back corner. Tough shot, well executed.
So, this wind persists. It may give the South Aussies a bit of a boost. What is this? Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a right to the left. Bit of a right to left breeze here. Should make it hard for ACT to come to the right and give a little bit of boost to South Australians' throws going to the left. There's also a crossfield as well, so it's also going away from the camera.
Yeah, I did see there that ACT set up a bit of a junk on that after that huck play, and then ACT needed to work it out of the corner, and the wind has started to pick up. They'd set up a junk with a diamond around the stack, and South Australia just didn't recognise or didn't really want to respond to that. You need to do something different, because you're not going to be able to generate a cut in or out when you've essentially been played zone on your stack. Doesn't really matter what you do in response, but don't do what you thought you were going to do beforehand, because it's not going to work. Flood an area, or at least communicate. Look around, recognise the fact that they're doing something junky, and respond in some way as a team. The wind, yeah, so the wind's definitely picked up. It's coming and going a little bit, but I think our Antarctic weather has returned. We had yesterday, unfortunately. And it's fairly much up down the field, going from the wind's coming from right to left as the camera looks. Shortish pull as expected into the wind. It's rolling.
Jack Hall with the disc. Up to Josh Peters. Peters to, oh, it's a great grab by Jasmine Malhotra. Over to Alexander. Alexander to O'Reilly. Swings across to Dante. Oh, just off the fingertips there.
Interestingly, Farrell not picking the disc up. It's Suzuki walking to it. She puts it deep. Nice high grab there by Weir. Running the give go. Just slightly out of reach. They were looking good there till the very last pass there. Evans just slightly overthrew that to Weir. That was a massive grab by him though. And a great look from Suzuki, putting that out in the space deep. There's a lot of space deep. Had a couple of receivers running in there and used it well.
Yeah, great use of space. This is actually a good shot from from Hall, but the ACT player just a bit too strong there.
So Weir pulls it down. Farrell comes back to give him an option. Suzuki cutting. Oh, wanted to get it to Suzuki, but that was a tough way to get it to her. Some sort of talk? No.
Hall to pick up the disc. Oh, sees Annalie Alexander, gets a hand to it, but down low, can't rule that in. Nearly catching the end zone.
Farrell picks the disc up. They're setting up a horizontal again. We saw last time they wanted to use that deep space. Yeah. So they're working it quite patiently at the moment, South Australia. Sorry, ACT. And they probably need to get it to Suzuki. She was happy to huck it. Evans with the disc. Gets it to Weir. Back to Evans. Not sure if that's intended receiver. Suzuki just fumbled that.
Malhotra with the disc. Really impressed with how she's been playing this tournament. To Peters. Peters hasn't got many good options yet. He's going to struggle here in a second. See Stevenson, but just Suzuki. Excellent poach-off play there to get that D.
Farrell walking to it. He's got Weir cutting deep. Doesn't use it. I'm not sure if that. I think that might have been intended for Suzuki.
Yeah, O'Reilly with the disc. SA streams past, finds Peters. Oh, way to rule that in. Peters. Great grab. Nodding with his head to try and indicate where he wants the receiver to go. Throws a massive break pass. I think it's gone straight out of the field. Oh, yeah, but that's where he wanted the three to go, so he threw it there.
It was good vision. That was where the space on the field was, or yeah, that was where the defence was letting you cut, but maybe pushed it a little bit too much. Suzuki jogging to the disc. She's shown she likes to huck out of this position. The horizontal stack was a bit far away. Comes to Jez Barron. He recenters it to Farrell. The stack is quite strung out now, so it's cleaning up a little bit. But they're forcing themselves into undercuts at the moment with a strung out stack. Bit of talk. Farrell with the disc. Suzuki looking deep. Evans puts it over the top. Was looking for Weir. Nice block by South Australia.
Yeah, it's a good matchup there between Weir and Peters. Both fairly athletic guys. They've had a good tussle. Weir's got probably the better of it so far, but that was a good block from Peters. Sent straight back down the field and out the back, probably with a little bit of a, well, wind's actually almost died again now.
But you'd have to say, a little bit worrying if you're Anson Chun, the coach of ACT. They're struggling quite a bit to get the disc moving. Combination maybe of South Australia picking up their defence a little bit, being a bit more aggressive on the mark, and just that little bit of wind has changed the way they're playing their offence. Suzuki dumps it to Farrell. To Evans. To Weir. He's got space and good receivers. Barron moving it. They've got numbers. They need to just keep moving it, really. Back to Weir. Oh, great D.
Once again, Peters Weir matchup is not failing to entertain. That's a great matchup between those two guys. Weir got the better of the last two throws. Yeah, well, this has got quite the scoring has slowed down from ACT after an 8-0 half. It's 2-1 in this half, and they're competitive points. It's much more entertaining to watch. And I think Potsy's right. I think the South Australian defence has picked up. I think in the first half they were a bit shell shocked. Maybe they had a big night or they had slow morning, I'm not sure, but they've certainly picked it up now and getting the disc downfield and putting the defensive pressure on. Really, really good to see, and they look to be in good spirits as well. ACT maybe switched off after 8-0 half, and they're finding it hard now to get back into that kind of focus zone. But they're going to want to end this game strongly to carry that into the next game if they want to have a good bronze medal match or even a gold medal match, depending on the result of the other game. So South Australians using their timeouts fully here. They've used 2 in the first half and they've used 1 here. I'm not sure if ACT has called a timeout yet, but South Australians don't mind the timeout. So Anson, coach of the ACT team, to his left is Dan Matthews-Hunter, the assistant coach. I think Anson will be really focused on cleaning up their offense here. They have a really good run and gun style, ACT. I really like to see how quickly they move the disc, but almost rushing a little bit sometimes. So he's going to want to settle that down, and I think if they play the quality of Ultimate they were playing earlier in the game, I think that they'll move this fairly easily through this South Aussie defense. So this could be quite good for them. They're coming out on defense here, obviously. And we'll see what sort of look they give to slow down the Aussies. South Aussie hasn't been too hard for them to generate turns on the South Australian offense. So it's really just a matter of getting that turn for them and then working it up and putting it in.
Yeah, ACT actually has a 3-person coaching staff, so they have Anson Chun, Dan Matthews-Hunter, and Ariel Ivanovici. So they're bringing some firepower to this tournament. Maybe not. She's on the sheet anyway.
Let's go, SA! Emma, Josh, Jazz, Emily, Dad, Jordan,
Maybe Ariel isn't here. Maybe she didn't travel with the team.
Give him a couple of meters, Dave.
So South Australia has a disc just before their halfway line.
O'Reilly picks it up. He's got the athletic wheel on him. Peters in the field. O'Reilly dumps it. He wants the 1-2. He's not going to get it. Hall with the disc. Hall to Annalie Alexander. Alexander looks for Peters. Finds him. Peters looking upfield. Wants to hits O'Reilly as the dump. O'Reilly can't get it across to Malhotra. Finds Peters. There's a great poach off again by Suzuki. She really reads the play very well. There may be some sort of... No, it doesn't look like there's... No, there's no call. No, it's just excellent poachy defense by Suzuki.
Farrell kind of walking to the disc. No, Suzuki. A little bit horizontal look. Nice easy undercut from Evans. He gets it to Barron. To Farrell. Within striking distance for sure. He's not quite looking, but then Evans gives him one and jumps it in for the goal.
So as expected, a lot of these South Australian players are from the 3 local universities, UniSA, Adelaide Uni and Flinders, I think. Actually, almost all of them may be from those 3 universities. UniSA, fairly well represented here as well. They've had an excellent program the last couple of years. Have gone from being almost non-existent as a club a few years back. Now they have just an incredible program. Look, they actually do a lot more than just Frisbee, that UniSA Ultimate Club. They go on snow trips, they go to sporting events together. They have a really good club vibe at UniSA. Really good to see that club growing under Sean Davis and the administrators at UniSA. Alana Colbert has been the other key administrator for that club.
One thing some of the Sydney universities talking about is trying out some sort of university league rather than kind of university tournaments, but actually doing something sort of weekly league. So any talk of anything like that in South? I think it's a good model for University Ultimate to kind of take it to the next level, because it's hard to get the momentum with tournaments, but with a league it gives you that kind of weekly fixture, and that can even be like, it's a single game, it can even be a weekday game where you like even on an afternoon or something like that, where the unis come together, travel to the other campuses and play games. Any thoughts about that?
So we have a slightly different structure maybe in SA to other states, where we have a fairly formalised club structure, and the university clubs are 3 of our main clubs. And so we have a weekly league where the university teams will put in teams every week. So they play as university teams. Often they set up their teams around their university games team, so they put a university games team into the local league, so they get that weekly game. So it's not quite a university competition, but it sort of serves a similar purpose. John Snow with the disc now, up to Maria Guerin. Guerin back to Snow. Snow looking for a target. Finds Guerin again. Once again, resetting that disc for him. Wants to give it back. Snow has the disc. Is he going to lose patience here and go for a huck? What's he going to do? Finds Guerin behind him. Stephen. Guerin struggling to find targets. And again, Guerin gets the disc. Guerin to Guerin there. Snow with the disc. Snow to Smith. Smith up the line to Guerin. Guerin back to Snow. Moving it well here, South Australia. It's all running through John Snow at the moment. But will he lose patience and just... Yeah, there he goes. It's not really to anybody. And a straight to ACT player.
Patterson Robert cleans that up. Oh, but just wasn't quite the option, and beautiful block by South Australia.
Stephen Guerin with the block, and also picks it up to put it in play. I think he's going to want to give it back to Snow. That's sort of their play at the moment. And just puts it high when he runs out of time. It's not the end of the world. Smith is under it, but there, it's gone out. Well out over the sideline.
I think it's Patterson Robert walking the disc up. She'll be aggressive. But again, kind of overthrown.
Second D in a row for Stephen Guerin. Dumps it to Snow. Snow really does want to run this offense. Looks for Duff. This is probably the 4th or 5th time he's thrown to Duff at this point, but this one, this game, but that one certainly worked. That was a beautiful throw, using the space, well out on the side. That's an excellent throw. Great point for South Australia. So they double their score there, 11-2.
Yeah, good vision there. Kind of threw that before the receiver really had started to take up the space, got it out there, and then the receiver saw it and chased it down. Yeah, Patterson Robert, uncharacteristically a little bit loose with the frisbee there. But she's a good player to watch. She's very aggressive with the frisbee.
Really like watching Suzuki play here. I remember I was playing a mixed Nats 2008, 2009, and saw a guy coming in and throw a pretty regulation throw to him. And Tam Davis was chasing one of my players out. And as I went to throw the disc, she blindly just turned and ran straight into the lane in front of my guy receiver who was coming in and just got the D. And I was like, how did she know that? How did she see that coming? She just was watching the receiver come in towards her and just turned and moved straight into his lane and got the D. And I've seen Suzuki do the similar thing just previously in this point. Just really good awareness, not just of what her players doing that she's defending, but also the players around her, and really reading the play really well, and just surprising the thrower by just turning right when they didn't expect it and coming off that lane to get the D. So I think that's just excellent awareness from her. I like that sort of move on defense.
I think in the mixed game, it's something that if you see the other team kind of playing a bit of male-dominated offense, and you're a woman on that defensive team, you can kind of use that to your advantage and read the play a little bit and try to just poach in on those kind of they're well telegraphed plays, aren't they? Those male isolations. So ACT pretty decent pull, kind of deep in their half of the field. James Bray with the disc. Nice throw up the line to Weir. He puts it into the end zone. Chased down by Caitlin Grange. She's just on the end zone line. Back to Bray and goal. Goal to Suzuki.
I think the discussion is whether that's the game or not. I think we're saying that is game. Players are shaking hands, but coaches are still talking. I didn't hear a buzzer. You didn't hear a buzzer? Yeah, I'm not sure if I heard a buzzer. Yeah, I think we're calling that game. Okay, there it is. So 12-2 to ACT. They were clearly the better team here, but I think the South Australians, kept playing fairly positive. Ultimately, they kept trying to try some stuff and put some pressure on, and I did manage to put pressure on through the second half of that game. But yeah, ACT, strong team, and now they move through to, well, it depends on the results of the game behind us, but they move through either to a bronze medal game or potentially to a gold medal game.
Yeah, I think a great way for South Australia to finish the tournament, really. Like, very disappointing first 7 points. They got smashed, really, literally, the first 7 points of the game. The last point before half was the change. There was a lot of, went to and fro quite a bit in that last point before half. ACT still managed to close that point out. And then from there on in, it was almost like a fairly even matchup between the two teams after half.
Yeah, I think you're right. And look, I'm a big fan of the early timeout to stop flow. And I think South Australia called that at 7-0 and got focused and started playing really good ultimate. But at 7-0, it's a long, a lot too late. So I'm a big fan of maybe the 2-point run and then the timeout, really to break that up and refocus the team and think about how you'll handle whatever the other team is throwing at you. But certainly that was the turning point. They called that timeout between the points. They had a big group chat and decided to obviously do something about this game, and from then on it was a very competitive game.
Yeah, as we were saying, they stepped it up a bit on defense. They definitely opened up their long game a bit. Yeah, it was good to see. A good way, and that's the end of the tournament for South Australia. So it's a really nice way to finish the tournament for them, I think.
Yeah, I'm really proud of all three South Australian teams. But this is probably my first time looking at this mixed team closely, the South Australian mixed team this tournament, and really like what they're doing. How they're developing their players, and as I said, they've got probably the two most experienced coaches of the South Australian teams, and I like how they're running that team and working with their players and using their players. Really good to see.
Look forward to watching them next year. Thanks, Joel, for joining me on this live stream. We are going to finish it now, and hope you guys at home join us for the next games, which are the bronze medal and gold medal matches. I think the men's division are first up, so it'll be pretty exciting. Catch you soon. Thanks.